you guys. Hey, Thomas. I'd definitely like to welcome you tonight. Thank you for coming. For those that don't know, we have Thomas Worthy, which is a city councilman. He's also a retired Gadsden police officer, well thought of in our community. Um, Gosh, I seen the other day where he's helping his community cooking Thanksgiving. But I definitely, first thing I really want to touch on before we get started with Thomas is, during these times of uncertainty with COVID, everybody dealing, their attitudes have definitely, been very disappointing. But I want to reach out and everybody come together as a community, and let's not attack our county officials, our elected officials. They're all people. They have family. They work with us. I'd hate for anybody. I've talked to several people today that people are sending threatening emails. That's not us. That's not what we're here for. We're here to fight as a city and come together with our city, county elected officials, and let's do this together. Definitely, this is, if you're getting an email, it's not from us. That's hateful, harmful in any way. But that's what I really want to start off with. Our next thing, I guess, our topic, Christy, what do you want to start off with tonight? Asking Thomas what our guests are thinking. I guess we wanted to know today is like, when were you informed of, this rendering plant? Is this something that
Okay.
that you knew about previous or?
No. That's why I went down that list. I went down at the council meeting. I got a call from a Rainbow City councilman. It was either that Thursday or Friday before our Tuesday council meeting, where we went into executive session and they told us about it, about the tax abatement. So that was the first I heard about it. When I first heard about it, I thought it was when you said Pilgrim Pride, I'm thinking a chicken plant.
Right.
So when the councilman called me, I said, no, that's not true. But I said, I tell you what, I will call and find out. So I made some phone calls and found out something was in the works, but because of the non-disclosure agreement, they couldn't talk about it. And so the little bit that they did tell me, I could not talk about. So I called that council member back and let him know, yeah, it's not coming to Rainbow City. Whatever is coming. They're working on is coming to Gadsden.
Right.
So that's the first I heard about it. So,
and just looking back, I think that is the case with most city council officials. They didn't know. I know that the county commission had looked at something in February. Is that right? February is when they flew to Iowa, and they had turned down the project early spring. Maybe is that January, February?
Yeah.
They looked at that. They've looked at it, turned it down. I think it was going to the mega site is where they had proposed it. The things that didn't work, I think it had a 22 million.
I don't know. I don't know if they turned it down or it just wasn't feasible for them to spend $20 million to put
right.
water and sewer system.
Yes, $22 million. And here's one of the other concerns I talked with the councilman, that not only was the $22 million out, is that if they built this plant there, that they wouldn't get no one else as far as a company to come to a rendering plant next door. That was another concern that they had. It wasn't just the rendering plant spending $22 million. It was, just looking out and getting other businesses to come to that location. So I think they had two strikes. One was $22 million. Next one was that would they get anybody else to locate there? No, absolutely not. Most of the time when you look at rendering plants, they're usually 10 to 15 miles outside of a city the size of Rainbow City. Just looking at now, and you don't see communities building around rendering plants now today. I think we've looked at Hansville. Their plant is, I think we sent somebody out to do some scouting for us the other day. There is nobody locating around a rendering plant, and most of these are built in rural locations, and it does not fit for our location as far as
But that rendering plant was built back in 59 or
68.
Okay, 68, somewhere along in there. And
right.
Most of the rendering plants were built, in the 60s, 70s.
Right.
And they're not up to date.
Right.
So
yes.
if you look at our chicken plant over here when it was Tyson's in East Gadsden, it smelled for years.
It did. I lived in East Gadsden.
Yeah, right. It smelled for years. Everybody complained about it.
Right.
And then when Cooks bought that plant, they spent, I guess, $7-8 million on the new technology. Now you do not smell that plant.
Yeah,
So I'm just saying,
probably, yeah.
everybody.
I mean, they've helped control it from when I was a younger kid living in East Gadsden, waking up mornings knowing that the chicken plant or the settling ponds were, you know, well, it was awful.
Yeah, the city used to get complaints every day. Now we
Right,
don't get any complaints at all.
right. What other questions you got?
Can I interrupt real quick on a technical side? I'm getting told that the audio we're kind of hot and you're kind of low. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn our audio down just a hair. So all you watching, if you want to crank that volume up a little bit, so hopefully we can get a little more balanced. Because I know we're probably gonna run fairly loud.
Right.
All right.
Okay.
I think so, guys. Yeah, if you can't hear us, I mean, chime in. That's the whole point of doing this, is so that everybody can talk and hear the conversation.
Okay. As far as the IDA board, so when do they usually notify you on projects like this?
The ID board doesn't, because tell the truth, from what I understand, they don't even know, because they have code names for all of these
That's right. I think this one's name is Cardinal.
projects and stuff. So
When it came to Gadsden, it became Project Cardinal. It had another name when it was Etowah, is my understanding.
Okay, but I know I spoke with some of the board members, and some some are new, and I won't say some. I would say one that contacted me, and he didn't know anything about it because they talked about it before he came. In that code name. So when I talked to some more board members, they remember talking about it in the code, but they didn't know exactly what it was, because they don't tell them, because they signed those non-disclosure confidentiality agreements.
When you have a job like this at this magnitude, wouldn't you think before they got this far along that they would notify the city officials, especially like on a $5.5 million tax abatement?
Well, see, that's wrong information. It's not $5.5 million tax abatement.
Okay.
See, and I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is until we decide whether we're going to do it or not. But that's not correct.
Right. So let's just say it's in the millions. Would that be a right assumption?
I'm not going to comment.
Okay. So that's fine. So, and this is what's very disappointing to me as a business owner, giving out tax incentives to new companies. It's like you're paying them to show up. We have a lot of small businesses in this community that could use the help, especially now with COVID. We have restaurants that are suffering. We have a lot of things that the city could reach out and do instead of a $5 million to pay somebody to show up to play. That's really not going to bring that much to the community. I know 90 jobs is a lot to bring to the community, but it's also, we have 90 jobs to fill now. I think there's a lot of manufacturing plants looking for people as well as now. I disagree with the tax abatements for this when we have local needs, as far as our whole county and our city. I know our city needs to grow.
Well, I agree with you there, because I think our small businesses need help also. So we're in agreement there.
And I
know about the jobs, because since I've been in office, we have done a job fair every year.
Right.
Since I've been on the council, except for this past year because of COVID. So we know it's jobs out there, and we need the workforce to be able to have these jobs, to go in and take these jobs.
Well, and I want to touch on another subject with IDA board. I've been in business 28 years, building projects all over the United States. Do you know for a fact that in 28 years that the IDA board has never stepped foot in my office to say, here's the project we'd like for you to work with, or what do you have? And you know how many counties reach out to me monthly, and other counties that reach out to me? A lot. Say, come here. So as far as our city and us working together as a community, that's not happening.
That's part of the problem, Trent, is I think we have 3 different IDA boards. Rainbow City for a while had their own, the county has their own, then Gadsden has their own. So people don't know who to go to, and that hurt us from getting businesses from coming in here. That's why we need one IDA board for the whole county, and that way, when a company want to come, they can go directly to that IDA board, and then that IDA board, which I said board, it's not really not the
Right,
board,
right,
it's the
board,
director.
right.
The director could say, hey, here's a piece of property, let's go here, let's look at this, and work with all the cities. Because we are, as a county, we all have to come together and work together. And that's what I've been shouting from the rooftop since I've been on the city council.
Absolutely. This is what, your second term, is that right? Second term?
Yes, my second term.
And then, like I said before, retired police officer. So you've been a big part of this community your whole life.
That's
And so you know what passion that everybody's bringing to the table here is that we all want to come together as a community. We want to build something that's right for our community. You know, and I don't even know if you reached out to the mayor, Boaz, Tim Walker, retired mayor, and his dealings with Pilgrim Pride and them shutting down their plant. And I think it basically almost bankrupted Boaz at that time. Am I right, Christy? Or it had a lot of effect. They lost 800 employees overnight in that plant, and that's been about a year and a half ago. Is that right?
It has. It had a serious impact on the Boaz Water and Sewer Board, the city, because improvements and investments had been made
Right.
by them, and for them to up and leave, it was obviously
like an overnight experience without a warning that they were leaving. So you know, I know that we talked about doing our own research as far as council members. Every council member that I have reached out to said, let me do their own research. So maybe if we took a ride up to the rendering plant, and I know it's a 1968, but you're supposed to revamp these plants every few years and bring them up to code.
Well, and if they've got state-of-the-art technology, then why aren't they taking their existing plants and doing that? And then another thing we're struggling with, I get this question a lot, that the group has asked me this, one of the most common things the past couple of days is, where is another comparable rendering plant that they claim they're going to bring? We don't have the answer. We don't.
I believe that's the one.
They haven't told us. So it's, you know, I know you've expressed wanting to go to one of these places, and have they shared with you, Thomas, about where another one of their rendering plants would be for you to go and see?
It's one that's comfortable to the one that they're going to build is, I believe it's the one in Iowa.
That's not their plant, though, right?
Their plant.
I know it's not their plant,
right?
But that's the technology. That's the latest model.
The one that Tim Ramsey and David Hooks and they went
so,
up to.
So let me ask you this, Thomas, and this is just something for me.
While we're talking about that, hold on just a minute, Trent. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
We're talking about going. I suggest that you all get a delegation, because y'all not gonna believe anything we say anyway when we go. And if we go and we don't smell anything, or you know, you don't smell the ponds and stuff, so you all need to have a delegation to go.
Absolutely.
So you can see for yourself.
Well, here's something
talked about that, Trent.
Right, here's something that I asked, and you know this, with Christmas coming on, with the holidays, when somebody's coming over to your house, what you're going to do, you're going to clean this house when you've got company coming. So my deal is, I would love for y'all to make an unexpected visit to these locations. Just show up. Go out and ask the neighbors.
Maybe we can make that happen.
Huh, sir?
I said, maybe we can make that happen.
I think that would be our best. That way, you know, nobody knows you're coming, and you show up, and we'll visit our neighbors 5 to 10 miles down the road and see what impact it has on our community, and then gather that for yourself. Because, like I said, when you have company or you're having a event at your house, that's going to be the cleanest it's ever going to be. You're going to paint, polish, and keep it top notch for the visitors coming. And I feel like the same way with them, they're going to keep this on top notch. They're going to cut the grass. They're going.
Right, but we can still.
I have a question. David Hooks was there on behalf of the city. Who else was there? Did they tell you? Because we've heard Tim Ramsey talk about the odor that he experienced.
Right.
Have
any members of the city group that went up there, Thomas, talked about what their odor experience was with you? Have they shared that?
Yeah, you remember I talked about this at the council meeting. I said we had a discrepancy. We had one person saying that they smelled something, which was Tim, and everybody else said they didn't smell anything.
So
that's
was
why I
it
said,
David Hooks that told you that it didn't smell? Who at the city told you it didn't smell?
I'm just, the people that I talked to that went said they didn't smell anything other than Tim. So that's why I said I need to go and look for myself.
Absolutely. Agreed.
Because, you know, we all have different smells. So, you
Right.
know, one person can smell something, the other person can't. So it's nobody's, you know, not being truthful. It's just the way they smelled it.
Right.
And their senses. So that's way if we all go up there, then, you know, you all have a delegation to go. Then you will be able to see for yourself, smell for yourself, and not only go to the plant like you're saying, because they probably will clean it up. But we need to go to the neighborhoods and talk to them, to the people around the plant, and let them tell
Absolutely.
us what they think.
And see what it's had an impact on their community. If it's been a positive or negative, I think that would be absolutely a great thing.
I'd be interested because I thought Tim said that it was a good drive. I don't know if there is a community.
There's one about 10 or 15 miles, and it's about the size of Rainbow City from what I'm gathering from our conversation. They flew in, probably an hour and a half, 2 hour drive.
What town? Do you remember what town Tim said it was?
I do not know, but he said it was comparable to Rainbow City. Within it was 10, 15 miles.
I'm thinking it might have been Clinton, Iowa.
Here's a good comment from Facebook. Look at the population and the number of businesses in that town in Iowa before and after the plant was built.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Clinton, Iowa is what you thought. Is that what Thomas thought? I think
I'm not sure.
That's what I'm thinking. It was Clinton, Iowa, because you know I Googled it, and I believe that one came up, Clinton, Iowa. But see, it's not a chicken plant; that's a hog and pig plant, and they say it smells worse.
Right. So, and here's my other touch. You know, when Pilgrim Pride did their presentation the other day, they said there'd be 2.2 trucks an hour. Well, on our math, with what they're saying, it'll be 100 trucks a day, because they said they didn't take deliveries on Saturday, Sunday. So you're going to have all the trailers sitting outside, exposed to heat with dead carcasses on it. So you're definitely going to have gathering of animals, birds. I think that's one of our big things. I think we had got a picture the other day from our Huntsville location where there were open top trailers. They discussed that they'd be closed top. Even with any conditions with a truck, semi trailer on the road with as much use, you're going to have holes in the floor. You're going to have leakage. You're going to have animal parts all over local neighborhoods where they're coming up and down the road.
Well, I'm gonna have to disagree with you there because you know we have those trucks coming up and down our roads now, leaving our chicken plants going to Huntsville. You know, every day.
But they're not seating.
We're not having that problem.
Right. They're also.
Well, and so I've talked. So Thomas, I've talked to this really interesting gentleman who's a USDA vet about. He works in the plants like the cooked foods that sort of, you know, cook the food. And he explained to me what is being sent to the rendering plant because he's at the place where it's cooked. And he was saying that it is the intestines, it is the condemned, he calls them condemned chickens. They're like diseased that they can't cook. You know, it's like the worst of the worst, and they load, and then they have a truck where the blood is in one truck, the feathers and the skin is in a truck, and then the intestines are in another. And that he says that it's not like a chicken, that it's the worst smelling of the worst smelling stuff that you can get. So you can't really compare the processing plant where they sort of cook it into your food and then the same type of odor or tractor trailers that are coming to the rendering plant themselves. So I'm getting some more sort of information, but he's really knowledgeable about the type of things these tractor trailers are carrying and the odors that just naturally emanate from that type of thing.
Right. What I was talking about is, you know, exactly what you just said. That leaves our chicken plant here every day, going to the rendering plant up there in Huntsville. But my understanding is all the wet product is in the tanker truck. then all the dry products are in what they call open face truck,
right.
but it's not open. It has a cover on it, but that's just what they call them.
It has a tarp on it. And what the USDA guy says is that, you know, it has a great deal of odor when it leaves those plants, but that, you know, it's often stored and then it is transported. So, and then once it gets to those rendering plants, it's then stored again. And so that, you know, it may not smell as bad upon leaving, but in the heat, the natural rotting that goes along with, by the time it arrives at these plants and then is further held before it's moved inside, then there can be a different level of odor that tractor trailers with a rendering plant might bring, as opposed to other types of food industries.
Yes, ma'am. But from my research so far, when they take those parts and they're gonna render them parts, they have 2 hours before they start breaking down. So they if they let them trucks sit out there for 2 hours, they're losing money. Then they won't be able to use that what's left of the chicken. So they have to get it in there to start doing the process within 2 hours, because what they're trying to get is that protein. And if it's decomposing, and it is, the protein is going to leave it. See what I'm saying?
I don't know. Have you had an opportunity to look on this Facebook page, Thomas? But the Hanceville, some people had gone down to Hanceville this week and taken some photographs of the trucks sitting outside waiting at the Hanceville place. Mm-hmm. And that there is, you know, showing that there is a number of trucks with these parts and pieces, you know, sitting there waiting to be, because, you know, obviously they can't all dock and unload at the same time. There's a point, and there's actually, you know, a part of this plant that's got, you know, an area where trucks park to wait in order to do all of that. Mm-hmm. So there may not be as long of a wait, but there is some period of time that these trucks.
Right. Oh yeah, no doubt there. I believe that. And I'm gonna go up to Hanceville myself also and look at it.
Okay, great. Hey, so this is another subject I wanted to touch on, is that, you know, our local airport is going to be right adjacent to it, on the same property. Actually,
not adjacent. It's on the airport
property, right? It's going to line up with runway 6. I'm thinking, if I'm correct. You know, we have so much use there for our airport, and I think, as me and you talked the other day, is we're talking that a military plane had come in and landed, and you know, our small airport it needs a lot of activity. And as far as airports, we have one of the nicest airports anywhere around. We have a longer runway. We have so many things that we could use, and we're not using the capability, that's full capability. So, you know, my focus, instead of rendering plant, let's look at, you know, aviation-oriented businesses that will help grow it. Let's look at, you know, let's get a board together that looks for small businesses with planes. That, you know, we have Jonathan out there that does paint schemes that are awesome. I don't even know if you went out there, but we talked about going out there.
We talked about it. Yeah, I'm gonna go out there.
Jonathan does a great job with paint schemes. We have so much there to use, you know. And I'll talk to maybe you as well about, what if we opened a restaurant out there that had food, that when pilots are coming in, that you locate and get fuel, because when you have passengers flying, they're always going to want to eat something good. And, you know, when you start converting to an airport, activity breeds activity. So if we can get our planes more, right now I don't even think we have a corporate plane at the Gadsden Airport. I mean, our airport is it's not used, it's not utilized right now, I guess is a better term. And I know, and here's another topic and that I would like to touch on is, you know, if this render plant was to come, what would it impact on other businesses locating? Right now, I think I have 2 projects that are looking to put them on hold, and one of them has 2 corporate planes that they would like to locate and rent a hangar at the airport. I think they've already reached out to the airport authorities and said, hey, if we come to Rainbow City, we want a hangar to put our planes in, and that would hurt the city of Gadsden. That would hurt us all, because, as well as, you know, a lot of our employees come from Gadsden to Rainbow City. I think a majority of them do, of our employees in our little work village, as I call it. right there with us, we have myself, we have CFI, we have ZLA, we have Surf Pro, we have Universal 2, we have the Willow Tree next to us, the Willow Tree Queen. She's actually with us tonight. She wouldn't get on camera, but they're on. She's on camera every night, but tonight there was something about a Friday night in timing that she wouldn't get on. But we have around 1,000 employees just in our little work village there in Rainbow City in the Deerfoot Industrial Park. That a majority of them, Thomas, come from Gadsden to work in our location. And they're taking that money that they earn in Rainbow City and taking it back to Gadsden and spending it in grocery stores or buying gas.
I think Choice Fabricators did a survey, and I think 67% of their employees live in Gadsden over at Choice Fab. So, to prove that point, there's so many Gadsden residents
I think
that
one
are
of
going to be affected.
Choice Fabricators employee was walking the other day, and I picked him up. He had on these little safety vests. He lived by the hospital. I was like, golly, that's a long way, Gadsden. So we are a community, and I feel like that's what we need to come together as a community and build this. And talking about that is that I can't believe to tell you, and as many phone calls as you got, Thomas, that our community has come together for this. We're all against it. We want to obviously grow. We want to, but let's better ourselves off this. And I agree with you on some, but we definitely, this is not the time or place for it. I mean, I've said that from the beginning, and as you look, you can look at rendering plants are 10 to 15 miles outside of any city like ours.
Well, let me go back to what you said about the restaurant at the airport. Now, when we talked about that, I talked to a board member about that. That's on the airport authority, because that's a good idea. And so I just don't want you to think we talked and I did not follow up
Absolutely
on it. So I've already discussed that with one of the board members on the airport authority. So they should be start working on that.
Well, and that's in myself, us living, or our office is right there close. We have, like I said, 1,000 people in that area that would, take people to dinner there because it's close. We have Landstar Trucking that's across the street that they have around 30 or 40 employees. So that is a big work community. So lunch would be great. And like I said, when you're flying and you want something good to eat, you always remember, like when we're on vacation, we're looking for a good place to eat. So when you're in the air, your pilot's going to suggest, hey, what about the Gadsden Airport? They got good barbecue, whatever they have. I think that'd be a big asset to our community.
And that barbecue is the example I gave.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's exactly what I told.
That was no point intended. Just a little barbecue smoke.
Yeah.
As a guy with a little aviation background, I mean, my perspective is the demand for aviation is going to go up. The demand for production of aviation, I mean, Huntsville is growing leaps and bounds, more aerospace industry. There's so much opportunity, and it's getting harder and harder and harder to find real estate on airports, especially that has a decent sized runway like we do. And so, I mean, even if this doesn't smell and it's all perfect plants, you're going to build it right there on the airport, which means that for the next 2 or 3 generations, that's all that is ever going to be there.
Yeah, we're not going to get no more land. Yeah, that's it.
You can't, that airport's I mean, it would cost way more to build another airport once somebody has some good idea.
Yeah, I think they just did a new iOS system a few years ago. It cost $10 million. It was at $5 to $10 million for this, that they got a government grant.
People, I mean, most of the people I've talked to in Gadsden since I've been around here do not understand the capabilities of that airport. I mean, it's got all the instrument capability that
So, Michael, you want to elaborate on, since you have aviation experience, about the iOS? I think it's something to do with inclement weather, flying in.
So it's
going to land in.
Yeah, probably Bruce Willis and Die Hard. It was
exactly
made pretty famous there. But it's a system that allows airplanes to get down in really, really bad weather. And that's not something that the FAA invests money on and that you have in a, small little tiny airport. I mean, there's pretty much not an airplane that could land out there. Don't quote me on all that. Obviously, you prefer to have longer runways. But for example, Albertville their runway is actually shorter, and they only have one of them. And I know BAE has a presence out there. Not sure what all contract or what work they do, but there's so much potential. And I mean, look at Birmingham is not that far away in aviation terms, and there's not a whole lot of land that can be developed to build more hangars.
Excuse me 1 minute.
So,
hello.
I think, Michael, you're right. We need to lean toward looking for aviation companies that will locate. They will do the same thing, Jonathan. Maybe they put together planes. We don't have a mechanic out there now that does maintenance that I'm aware of.
Is it cooked already?
And I think we're gonna try and get Jonathan on here because I really would like to have a conversation with him. He's done a lot of great work out at the airport, but I mean he's almost got 20 employees, and he's paying pretty good rates out there.
I don't know.
And he's running a small shop.
So. It's unbelievable. I think he's doing paint schemes on boats, race boats.
Plane schemer. If y'all haven't checked him out, if you like cool cars, he's putting hot rod paint schemes on some, pretty awesome airplanes.
Yeah, Thomas, it's definitely worth your drive over there to Hangar Road to see what Jonathan does.
Okay, most definitely.
And this is what I would reach out to the council is, hey, no different than you did Tuesday, Thomas. Ride out to the airport, ride around, look at what we have to give other communities that a lot of communities don't have. This airport is very, very valuable to us in our community. If we ever want to get somebody at the mega site that has corporate planes, if we have a chicken plant there or a rendering plant, they're not going to come. They're not going to land their plane. They're going to land it in Aberfoyle and drive down. And that's a big attraction to us as far as a small community. If somebody goes to the mega site that has corporate planes that want to come in, they're right there at it, Thomas. That's a big deal. I don't even know if our city council knows that. What we have out there is like a diamond in the rough. I mean, let's just polish it off. And
we understand what's out there. Believe you me, we understand it. And I've been out there. I was in the Guard down there for years, so I know exactly what's out there. But, what you're saying makes sense. But like all I'm saying is, we jump into conclusions, I think, instead of letting the process work itself out. Let us work through the process because, just say, what if we are wrong? What if you all are wrong about the smell and all of that? Then if it's new technology out there that would make the plant not smell, then why shouldn't we get it? What would be the downside then?
So I want to address kind of two things on that, and let's assume it is state of the art or whatever is the best that can be out there. Let's just assume that. We don't know what that means, but let's assume that. It's to me, Thomas, it almost asks somebody to kind of check their common sense at the door, because I don't know if they've even told you guys this, or you have gotten these types of details like we've got from them, that they're going to ship in 1.2 billion pounds of intestines, blood, all of these chickens that are condemned to this plant a year. And they're going to process that. They're going to discharge their wastewater into a lagoon. They're going to then take all of this material and ship the 1.2 billion pounds that they've recycled or whatever they want to call it back out again. And I struggle, Thomas, I really do. I struggle with how that can be done, how sort of Mother Nature allows that to happen when you're talking that magnitude of those types of products being shipped and transported into our county with the number of trucks a day, that can't smell bad. I don't know if it seems to be stretching the imagination that can happen. And in my research, I've found really no rendering plant that I've been able to do in my research that succeeded in that. And, for us to be kind of the guinea pig that this one is going to succeed, if you look online, Thomas, and do some research about these plants and their ADEM violations and their OSHA and just the odor complaints, I can't find one that doesn't have a serious problem and has violations. And I really encourage, and one of the things we're trying to do, Thomas, is to get this research together that we've done to help you guys, because, you know, this all happened really fast and everyone hasn't had the opportunity to do all this, but we're trying to get this stuff together so that you guys can see what we found. And it's pretty scary stuff. And so I hear what you're saying, and I'm hoping that as the process does, and you guys are able to go through the process and do that research, that I think you'll see what you know we've seen. But I appreciate, Thomas, that you guys need the opportunity that we've had in order to, you know, do all this. This sort of hit your laps pretty fast.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right, because the research that I'm doing so far is the same almost, because from what I understand, they don't have a plant out there other than our plant that has the type of technology that they're putting into the plants today.
So, and I'm going to read you. I didn't know that this was this Iowa plant. I just Googled the Iowa plant. Wow, it's Clinton, Iowa plant.
And we're going to I'm seeing some of the comments in there. Once we kind of finish up this discussion, let's jump into some of the questions that we've got on the internet. Sure. and see what.
Well, and I'll just leave it at that. You can Google. I just was Googled this Iowa plant and have found, you know, multiple articles already about the smell in Clinton, Iowa, and how bad that plant is. And so, you know, and from what Tim Ramsey had to say, that was sort of his experience as well. And when you're talking about Etowah County, that's geographically the smallest land mass in our state, you know, it's not as spread out, perhaps.
Okay, excuse me, just 1 second.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
You know, and here's one of my biggest concerns, and I agree with our question here, is that as Pilgrim Pride as a whole, if you look back at all their companies, their ADEM permits, their ADEM issues, their fines, EPA, that this just added to their bottom line. This is just the cost of doing business. I mean, it's no different than me or you driving out here and we get a speeding ticket, and if we didn't have the point system for us to fail or
no, they said it was
be scared to death. So they're just calling those ADEM fines just on each other and like, we'll pay that later. So it's a bottom line.
Compliance concern here. Got such a small county. People compliance, if they don't comply.
Yes. So have we ever had?
I'm on this thing on thing now. With these people.
Air pollution.
So
water.
I'll talk to you later.
So they're just sending fines, and it's a bottom.
Well,
the city has to.
There's a good question for you guys. Get out there and do the research. How many plants have been shut down because of this? So, and then go submit that over on the website. Let me take, while we got kind of a pause here, if you guys wouldn't mind, hit that share button and keep the questions rolling. If you guys are good with it, we'll try and dive in and see if we got some of these questions that folks have for the councilman. First, I will say I'm seeing a lot of comments of thank you so much for coming on and being willing to do this. Here's one to start off with. If we're trying to work together, why don't you have both groups go together and share the same experience?
Well, I think Thomas touched on that.
That's what I'm saying.
Research, right? So I think yes, that is something that we're going to do.
Okay. Well, and I think that means not two different groups going to do, at different times.
Maybe we can work together.
Sounds like a good idea.
And then I want to do when the unexpected visits, not a visit where we're cleaning house and we're gonna have where we can eat off the floor. So I don't want that visit.
And this is,
right.
We have the question is we have 5,000 people opposing this, and that's just on Facebook. Is there a Facebook domain establishment for people in favor of the plant? And I guess the greater question would just be, have you gotten positive feedback so far from the community that say, hey, we want this?
I haven't, from my district, I'm like Councilman Cannon. I haven't had one person to call me and said, do it or don't do it, that lives in my district.
Right. But as far as outside your district, have you had anybody call you and say that do it? I guess
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So you haven't heard.
It's not as many as the ones that are saying don't do it.
Right.
Okay.
You know, it's very few.
So you haven't heard from anybody in your district from our group to say don't do it?
Not to live in District 3.
Okay.
I've had plenty of people to, send me emails. Even I've talked to some and I try to, reply, but it's so many now I cannot reply back.
Right.
So I'm going to make this
doing
challenge.
a good job there.
I'm going to make this challenge. If you are out there and you live in District 3, there you go.
Just keep it. Keep it right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Express your concern in an appropriate way.
And tell Thomas, have a nice day. Thank you for being a councilman of Gadsden City.
And it may be that there's a lot of people in District 3, and so it may be that Thomas, you may be in District 3, but he knows a lot of people, but he doesn't know you need to
exactly. I don't know everybody. You
need to tell him I live. So
right.
He's aware. Just saying, so he's aware. And that I'm sure that would catch his eye as he's reading. Oh, there's someone from
absolutely. And listen, 99% of the people that contact me, they're friendly. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
I got some knuckleheads.
I don't feel like majority of everybody has good intentions. That obviously nobody wants to get hurt during this or feel threatened that they can't go out to a restaurant. I felt like that was one of my conversations today with somebody there. They felt almost threatened to go eat somewhere, and I'm like, well, I'm going to try to put a stop to that tonight and tell everybody that we all need to be on the same page. We need to work together.
That's just,
we're not getting anywhere fighting each other.
So how about this? If you are in District 3 right now and you're watching, say that in the comments. Whenever
maybe I shouldn't have told y'all that.
Put it in the comments.
Or if you know somebody
put it in the comments.
If you know somebody that lives in 3.
If you know somebody in District 3, you call them. Don't call them right now because you
don't call them right now. Send him an email, a friendly email. Right, Thomas?
Right, absolutely.
Hey, I think, what else do we have to touch on here?
I don't know. Any questions from our group?
Any questions that you
I'm trying to go through. Have you seen, the question is, did anyone show him the pics of the birds swarming the trucks with the open tops?
That's the Huntsville.
Yeah,
that's the Huntsville. And the reason they're probably bringing that up is because of aviation planes flying in. I guess if you look back to New York when we had the bird strike that took down that plane.
Yep. Miracle in the Hudson.
Right. I think that's a big concern with pilots coming in with wildlife, especially as much as, this would definitely grow wildlife. You would also have rodents as far huge coming over to our side of the fence. So,
and I guess this one I think is pretty good. And can you give us 2 positive reasons? And I guess let's play devil's advocate. Can you give us 2 positive reasons why the plant would add growth to our community for years to come that would outweigh the negatives and concerns that so many residents seem to have?
That's a great question.
The positives that I would say, the Gadsden City school system would get $258,000 a year in monies for our school. The county school would get $90,000 a year, but they'll get $100,000 check up front.
I feel like
that is on the low end. I'm pretty sure it's probably going to be more than that, but that's the low conservative end of the scale.
So really, we're not talking.
And then not only the money part, but you're talking jobs. That's 90 good paying jobs for people that with the coronavirus out there, with a lot of layoffs and jobs closing. Plants closing. This is an opportunity. Now that's the positive side. Because we don't want handouts. People want to work, most of them. So that's what we want to do. And everybody complaining to us, well, why we don't bring good paying jobs here? Then when the IDA do go out and get a decent paying job, then the whole community turns on them
I don't
because
think,
of the
and
perception.
I
And we
disagree
don't even
with
know
that.
if it's 100% true that it's going to smell and do all the things that you all are saying.
Right. Well, I don't agree with that. I mean, like we discussed a while ago, I think with as many businesses, I know ZLA employs around 300 people. They're always looking for people. CFI. So within a mile of our radius, a half a mile, we have opening right now for 100 jobs that are good paying jobs. I mean, and I know you're looking at this, Thomas, and everybody's looking at the $24, but you're really talking $11, $12 an hour to do that kind of job. That's a hard job to do, and I'm sure they have a lot of turnover. They sell you this big nice show that it's nice when you get in there and you're working this. There's not worth $12 an hour. My next concern is kind of
technically, before you go, let me respond to that. Technically, they told us that they had a high turnover in the plants if they smell. So that's an incentive for them to get the smell out of the plants. So
right.
they won't have that high turnover. Now in the plants they said that it doesn't have that odor, they keep the employees. They don't have the turnover.
Well, and again, here let me.
And that's just coming from them. I'm just repeating what I've been told.
Right.
So on research.
As far as a company like this coming and bringing jobs, so and I know everybody doesn't realize this, but they're taking this money, all the profits, sending it to Ohio. That's not kept in the community. We're selling our soul for $250,000 a year for each school, $90,000 for the county, and they're taking the profits out. When I say that, they're not keeping it local like our small businesses, and then they're kind of, we're giving them $550,000 in tax incentives to come here. I don't know anywhere in this world, Thomas, where I have a company begging for a rendering plant to show up. I know we lost the jobs of Goodyear, but we absorbed that. Everybody went and got jobs somewhere else. We have Honda. I don't know anybody in the world that would disagree with a Honda plant with a high manufacturing company coming to our town. I think everybody would work together.
Yeah.
I know.
I think the concern is that once you have a rendering plant, then the ability to recruit those types of industries, you become the county that's what you'll settle for, and what type of and I think that's why the county, that's one of the things the county expressed was their concern. If they allowed a rendering plant on that mega site, they were kind of resigning themselves that was the level of recruitment that they would have. And I just don't think that's the vision that we have or need to have. I don't think, Thomas, that's your vision.
No. If it was a 90s plant or a 2000 plant, yeah, I would say yeah, because they didn't have the technology back then. But I'm just saying, I don't know until I go check it out.
Well,
for myself.
And this is probably one of the biggest things.
I
didn't really know how to render it.
I'm going to not agree a little bit with that. Let's assume that the odor problem is solved. Let's say they've somehow managed to wrangle Mother Nature into a box and the problem solved. Let's say that it's solved. The fact that we have a rendering plant and we allow that type of massive amounts of that product to be shipped and doing it does. Even if that is the case, there is a stigma. There is a reputation that we would inherit, whether or not it's the shiniest new dime around. And I think ignoring that and is a concern. I think that we've allowed ourselves to have a vision and a view of ourselves that's not as elevated as it's just time. It's time for us to think differently. And you've talked about that, Thomas. That's one of the reasons you ran for office, is because you believe that. And I think that this just is another element of that.
And you're absolutely right. That's true what you're saying. We have to weigh that.
Yeah.
Because,
I agree.
So here's a comment that I know probably sums up a lot of frustration based on all the research that has really occurred in our group. And it doesn't take much to see, but the statements with their track record, does he really think they will be good for us?
Well,
based on the research that you're doing, I mean,
I'm still in the process of doing it, but I've seen
Okay.
some violations. But a lot of those violations was the odor, because they didn't have the technology to control that odor. Just like with here at the chicken plant, they
Okay.
had violations because of the odor and things like that. And I'm not saying that they're gonna be perfect. I'm not saying you're gonna have a truck to break down, maybe have a wreck. I know we've had that before. When I was in public safety, and you have to deal with that.
Okay. Have you reached out to anybody up in Boaz based on their experiences?
Tim Walker would be the.
No, I've spoke with someone in Rainsville.
Okay.
They got a plant up there.
Could you mind when you have time, Thomas, to reach out to Tim Walker? He is the retired mayor of Boaz, and he
Hold on, I'm writing it down now.
He has personally dealt with Pilgrim's Pride. And that would be a great start. And that's local. That's Boaz.
And I'd like to ask, if you can, I don't know if, Thomas, how much ability you have to get the IDA or whoever can get information to you guys as a council, member, to ask, what is this state-of-the-art technology? What's the closest thing? Get some real answers, because I don't think the PowerPoint really answered that on Tuesday about what do you give us some specifications on what you're talking about, that because you're asking that if it is this state-of-the-art and it eliminates the smell.
Right.
Describe that. What are the where is it? And is Iowa the only place? Because if so, I just think that it's so vague. And if you can ask whoever at the city that can give you that information, I think that would be extremely helpful.
Okay, I will ask that.
Thank you
but it
very
probably
much.
will have to come from their engineers.
Right. Well, and that's scary when it's their own engineer. And this is a question.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll be real quick with it. This is a question. I know that they brought their engineer in, talked about the wind, the direction that it wouldn't cover, and then a few minutes later they talked about it didn't smell. Why would we worry about which way the wind blew? Why would we worry about all this if the plant didn't smell?
Well, yeah, that was a good question. Somebody else asked that,
Right.
After the council meeting. So
if we're not worried about a 5 or 10 mile radius, and we have barbecue smell coming out of our smokestack, why are we worried about which way the wind blows? I know
that's a good question.
And they were trying to discredit our.
Well, maybe it could be because if a machine breaks down or something, then it's gonna smell.
Right, and with a new plant, and this is a new location, and we're the test dummies for this location. Pretty much, we're gonna have stuff. We're gonna have, but yeah, if it's new, if it's a new technology, we're gonna have a lot of issues starting. It's like building a new car. It's going to have some issues.
I'm seeing some of this, and I'll I'll take it on the chin if you guys. So it said I don't think Mr. Worthy has been given the same opportunity to talk as was given to Mr. Wilson last night. So
absolutely,
by all means, if you feel like you've got some ideas and stuff that you want to talk about. We're definitely all ears. So guys, I apologize if it's coming across that way. We're trying to.
I'm here to answer the questions.
Okay.
I don't have a speech or anything like that. I'm just. I thought that's what this was. That I come on and.
Yeah. And that's from. And I appreciate listening to what you guys are talking about. I'm trying to read through those comments and get you guys what you want.
Well, I think that's all I have. Is that?
What does he?
Thomas,
is anything else that you have questions for us, or anything you thank you so much for coming.
Definitely.
Anything that you want to share with us that can help you in some way?
The only thing is the research that we are doing, and just give us time to complete the process. I know people do not want it here, because Lord knows I've gotten thousands of emails, and so y'all have that on point. Y'all are very organized, and you have money. So, and it reminds me of me talking to one of the ladies that's in opposition. I won't call her name, but I was telling her we should, raise money to send a delegation of the people that opposed it up to the plant with us, and she let me know real quick she could pay her own way. So I said, I'm sorry, I forgot who I was talking to.
No, we're just aggressive, Thomas. I guess that's our deal. We're aggressive, passionate about what we believe in. I guess if you will.
That's no problem.
Right.
But, yeah.
And I know you've seen stuff that we have going with us. We're very aggressive in our day to day. So I guess you would expect no less from some of the people on board.
And I will tell you, I mean, the Facebook group, I mean, please understand that was started by Jonathan McCormick out of the airport, and it is taken a life of its own. And there's a lot of people from all over the community that are jumping in, that are going out and they're doing the research. Lots of folks that are driving themselves out to Hanceville, and I've talked to a few folks that they're making plans to travel around the country. So it is definitely not a small group of people that are pushing the fight. I think, in fact, it's the reverse. It's a large group of people fighting a small group of us to push forward with this.
Right, but I would like to say this. This is serious here. I do not blame the people, the average citizen, because they do not know the process. But what I do blame is these elected officials that know the process, and they are out here telling lies on us, saying we're doing it in secret and we taking, this and all of that. That is totally wrong. And that's why you have the uproar that you have. And so listen, I don't blame the people, but I do blame the elected officials. I even talked to one in the hallway Tuesday before the 11 o'clock meeting, and what he was saying just didn't make sense. And I told him to his face, I said, now I know you know better, but these people out here, they don't, because you know the process. The same process the IDA do for any company that's coming in Gadsden or any other city in Etowah County. It's the same process, to my knowledge.
So Thomas, do you know how you go about getting on the IDA board? How are those?
You appointed.
Appointed. So everybody on that board is appointed by city council?
The mayor.
The mayor.
We have to vote on it, though.
You vote on it. So the mayor puts them in place. Okay.
So there's a question along that lines. Whoops, if I can. Well, one comment was then the process needs to be changed. And I think, from the comments last night, because there's a lot of discussion about the process and trust the process, and kind of the feeling of we kind of got left out of the process. At least that's the way it's come across.
Well, how do y'all think we feel?
I know. And that was another good piece of the conversation that I think we had with Jason last night.
I think that's what we're finding, Thomas, is that you guys were left out of the process, or I believe it as well. Yes.
Right. Not only this one, because you could have companies that want to come to Gadsden, and for whatever reason, we'd never know. Said if the deal fell through, then we didn't even know they was trying to come to Gadsden.
Well, I feel like that's disappointing on your part. Maybe y'all could have done something to keep them here.
Well, if you don't know, that's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Let's go through the mayor's office and the IDA director because of the confidentiality agreements that they have to sign.
Here's one that I think is, I've heard from a lot of folks and trying to understand. So we're talking about the process. We'd like to know what the timeline is. When is the vote?
Well, see, that's above my pay grade.
What is your understanding
when
of
the
where we go?
administration bring it to us, we'll do a public hearing before we vote on it. So you know, when you do a public hearing, you have to advertise it for 10 days, I believe, before we could even take a vote. So the public will know.
Let me follow up that. I think I already know the answer, but I think this is a question that I'm hearing is being asked. When the time comes to vote, Thomas, is it your way of doing things to vote what the people want you to do, or do you vote the way you think that it should go? What I think I know the answer, but I wanted to
let me
that
tell
for
you,
the crowd.
Yes, ma'am. Let me tell you this. I vote my conscience. I vote what is best for the constituents in my community. Then I vote on what's best for my city. And then outside of that, I vote what's best for the county. But I don't do a vote worried about getting a vote, if you know what I mean.
Well, so you're saying you vote what your constituents want, what they tell you. If they go, Thomas, we don't want this, then you hear that, and that's how it goes.
Yeah, but then I'm gonna vote what's best for the city of Gadsden, because and then, like, I had a fellow that called me this evening was telling me, well, I might not get reelected and all this. I said, well, you know, that doesn't bother me. I'm not a politician. I'm a servant, and I'm gonna vote the way I think is best. And then if people vote me back in, they vote me back in. If they don't, it's all right. I'll go do something else. But you know, I love working for the people. I've worked, you know, for the people in Gadsden for 26 years as a police officer. Did 22 years in the military, 3 years active duty, the rest in the Alabama National Guard. So I'm all about service. But I'm not gonna just vote to please somebody, if that makes sense.
Right.
So and I think this comment, I know it's a passionate one, but you know, it says, sorry, Rainbow City, y'all are screwed. And I want to bring that up in the context of perhaps there's an issue with the process. If something like this, hey, this is the vote that's going to be best for Gadsden, even though all the people that are affected that live literally across the street are Rainbow City residents. And I think that's, am I accurate?
Right.
That's kind of one of the things that's making it so much more heartfelt and frustrating from all the comments that I'm seeing in our group.
Well,
so, any thoughts on that?
Sir?
Any thoughts on that? And maybe, you know, is that something that we need to really have more of a community discussion about? Yeah, I mean, it is Gadsden technically, but across the street, it's Rainbow City.
Of course, it's Rainbow City. And when I said community, I'm talking about all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So just because it's Rainbow City, that don't mean I'm gonna just not care about Rainbow City. Because if you feel that way, you don't know me at all. Because I've been one of the council members since I've been here, is trying to get us all to work together. Because what is good for one city in this county is good for all of us. That's why I push so hard to get us to work with the county to get somebody out there at the mega site. And my thing was that, you know, they talk about it's going to cost $22 million to run water and sewer out there. We got all these cities in this county, and all of us have workers, city workers that work in construction and different stuff like that. And we could go out there and dig. You know, Gadsden can have a couple of crews. Rainbow City can have a water crew out there. Oaks Bluff can have a water crew. Rainbow City and Etowah, all us can have water crews and build it ourselves. You know, that's an idea. That may be a pie in the sky, but it's an idea that we should be trying to work together to do.
You know, and I think going back to the comment that they made, I think I heard what the frustration is, but I think it presumes that the constituents where Thomas, you know, that he is in the city, I think that his constituents and the city of Gadsden don't want Rainbow City to have to deal with that either. I do. I think that at the end of the day, everyone is going to say, we don't want our elected officials to do that. We're not going to put any or ask Thomas to put himself in that position. He wouldn't do that anyway. I truly think that this is making it clear that we don't want to do those things to each other. And I don't think Gadsden wants to do that to Rainbow City. And I don't think you want to do that to Rainbow City. So I'm hopeful that that's not what the question is us or them. It's how we come together and we all want to do that.
Exactly. How we all work together for the good of everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, if you got a couple more questions, I'm trying to scroll through. I think from reading through, we've addressed, at least in some way, a lot of the discussion. But for sure, if you're not getting the answers that you want, it may not be the answer that you want, but at least an answer to the question that you have. And that's part of this process is having the discussion, whether we like the answer or not. Hey,
exactly.
It's great that we're seeing that.
Mm-hmm. And for the ones that's saying that we're taking money, and I say this all the time, I'm retired. Okay, I wasn't a crooked cop. I'm not crooked now. And for his materialistic stuff, if I don't have it by now, by the time I retire, I don't need it. So nobody can give me money, anything like that, to vote a certain way.
Well, much respect for that for sure, and that I'll tie that back into folks. If you're sending ugly, nasty, like that's just unproductive. Don't be threatening unless you got proof. Don't accuse. Let's have a discussion and figure out where we move from here. Right. So
yeah, and especially, I mean, Thomas is a reasonable man. And I feel confident after you do all the research you need to do and the process is followed the way that you want to get to that point, that you'll reach the same conclusion that we all have, because you're a reasonable man. So I'm happy. We're all happy to work with you to help you, give you information in order to help to get to that point.
I think that's what we need to do with all of our council. Is reach out to them and say, hey, we're here. We're not against you. We're not the one fighting against you. We're fighting with you. We want what's best for our community. We want to have job growth. We want to bring stuff. We want to bring good restaurants, and we even looked at that, what impact it'll have. We definitely know by looking at Hansville that they have a class action right now against that rendering plant. So I think we've reached out to them. They cannot speak to us about it because they have a class action going on. Is that true?
That's what I've been told.
Right.
Yeah.
I think so. I think we looked that up. So I guess that's all I have. It's just.
Well, here's a quick one that we were talking about trucks and everything. Mr. Thomas, do you feel comfortable with how close they would be to all the schools? I know that there was a lot. I don't know. We talked a whole lot exactly. I mean, there are 3 schools within basically a mile and a half.
Right, 3 schools within a mile and a half
of this facility.
I think the schools, like you said, from what I understand, if it does smell, it would be on the property, the 8 acres. And if it went off of the property, it would be a half a mile, maybe. That's what I'm thinking. Because, you may have a smell, a little something. When it's, if a machine break or something like that. So I don't think it would affect the school. Now, I'm not 100% sure. That's just me thinking that. But that's some part of the research, more research that I would have to do. But, no, my wife was a school teacher. So, no, I wouldn't want it to affect the school kids at all.
Even if we go with a half-mile number, then I would say we probably need to dig in that. Well, how many employees are within that half mile? How many people that are working, and then how many houses? I know last night the number 7 was thrown out there, and that got a lot of people passionate. We all know there's a lot more than 7 houses out there.
Right. Yeah, if I got a call from I think the man said he was 90 years old. I spoke with him. I believe it was him and his wife there, and they said they lived across the street, if I'm not mistaken, from it. So I've spoken with people and talked to them. So I don't ignore them when they call me.
So we talked about the trucks and everything, and this is something I haven't seen yet. What will the traffic routes of the trucks to the facility through what facilities on what roads?
Yeah, absolutely. Still Station Road now.
Come down airport from the interstate to airport and then to Still Station Road, from what I understand. Don't quote me on that.
Well, you know what I do, they won't take that route all the time. If they're coming 77, they'll turn Still Station by 12th Street Baptist Church, right there in the school zone. So we're adding 100 trucks a day in that area, which was that's a lot of impact. So as the chairman of the IDA board came out against this, what are your thoughts?
The chairman of the IDA board came out.
Yeah, came out against it. Yes.
You talking about Mayor Means?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's his right.
Right.
You know, I can't speak for another elected official.
Right.
I'm going to speak for myself.
Okay. That's all I have tonight.
All right. Christian, you have anything else?
Thank you so much, Thomas.
No problem.
Hey, and thanks for coming to business this week, me and Kim. That was very heartfelt when a councilman shows up in your district in Rainbow City to see your concerns. You don't get that much.
And I hope so. We've got about 160 folks on. We've been. First off, wow, on a Friday night. It must be important to you.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
But thank you so much for being willing to come and put yourself out there in the Facebook world. Sometimes it can get ugly, but I think we've had some good discussion tonight. I'd encourage you if you could jump in. There's some of those comments and questions. I'm sure some folks would love to have you answer them or have somebody kind of address some of those things, or at least look at other questions that we didn't get to and cover.
See, that's the thing. We don't have a staff like the bigger cities, so I will address it at the council meeting. That way, because I was chatting back and forth with one lady that was opposed to it, and they wanted to know when I did my research, how would I let them know and all this. I will let them know at the council meeting. That way, everybody, it'll be on TV, and everybody will see it then.
Okay. Well, we'll make sure we get another 450 to 500 folks watching that council meeting. That's got to be record number.
That's got to be for City Gadsden.
For the City Gadsden. I don't know if you're aware of that or not. The last I looked, we were about 9,000 views. The previous council meetings, y'all get about 1,200 or 1,500 views max. With about three comments. We were well over 1,000 comments.
Good gracious.
So hey, and
let the people speak.
And I don't want
yes.
I don't want it to be lost of perspective that this is pretty impressive to see. And I know we talked about this with Jason. It's impressive to see the amount of involvement and coming together and unity of discussion, at least. That's in what little time I've lived in Gadsden, this has definitely been the most universal conversation. So hopefully we make it productive conversation and move forward. So thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you all.
I hope,
Thomas, enjoy your afternoon.
Yeah.
Yes,
well,
sir. Yes, sir.
Happy weekend.
Evening.
Whatever.
And we will see you. Well, I guess what
The council meeting Tuesday.
next Tuesday.
Tuesday, yes.
So thank you so much.
All right, y'all take care.
All right, guys, we're gonna jump off of here. Thank y'all. We will probably see you tomorrow night.